Hey guys, Josh Kent with US Arms Company here again with a giant bullet in my hand. Here today to bring you another video and explain to you, the consumer, what all goes into our Generation 2 Champion rifle, the components, and honestly, what makes the rifle as good as it is. So I'm gonna work off here from my left, your right, and just go through the components, and we'll go from there. And the first item that we have here is gonna be the Magpul ACS 6-position buttstock. Talk about a few features that make this a great stock for the Generation 2 Champion. So first off, it has your 6-position release, which locks the pin into the mil-spec buffer tube, and our lock. On the sides of the stock, it has 2 battery components to where you can put extra batteries if you're running flashlights, or if you guys have that kind of cash to buy an infrared laser, you can put infrared 123 batteries in here along with AA's. Here's a 123 battery, and we'll show that this drops right in to the component here. Boom, dropped in there, and I think it would hold, it looks like it'll hold about 3 or 4 on one side. And lastly, there is another component, a side door component here that you can put probably some bubble gum or whatever else you want to put in there. I don't know, maybe a 9-volt would fit in there or something like that. But there is a side door there that is an additional compartment. Here at the factory, we set the QD sling mount on the buttstock to the right side, but you can mount it to either side. If you're a left-handed shooter, you can swap this over to the left-hand side. It's not a big deal. The buffer tube that we use for all of the UTAW rifles is a mil-spec, which is the smaller variant of the buffer tube. You have a commercial variant and a mil-spec variant. The mil-spec side, for those of you who are wondering, is a slightly smaller size than the commercial. So if you're buying, if you have a rifle at home and it has a commercial buffer tube, do not buy a mil-spec buffered stock for that, because you're gonna have a difficult time. If you do fit it on there, it's gonna be super tight and it's not gonna work like you want it. So anyway, a mil-spec buffer tube we have here. And moving on down through here, we're gonna look at the lower receiver, the US Arms Co. UTAW lower receiver. So we have lightning cuts to just drop a little bit of weight. Ounces make pounds. And so we did a lot of lightning cuts to drop the weight of the receiver, and we added material in places like your hammer and trigger pin locations on the lower receiver to give it a little more rigidity. And as we move back, you see here that this receiver is a cam lock receiver, okay? So we have standard and cam lock, but on your Gen 2 Champion, you're always gonna get a cam lock receiver, which brings the upper and lower receivers together, therefore eliminating torque or torsion as you shoot the rifle, essentially bringing a lot of those flyers that you fired back to the center of your cone of fire, bringing our groups to a little bit smaller. And a lot of people think that this is a wedge system. It's not. It actually brings the upper and lower together. Essentially a bedding job for an AR-15. For the Gen 2 Champion, we offer the Trigger Tech Ambi Safety. Now, the cool thing about this is if you purchase a Gen 2 Champion, you're gonna get also the button that comes with the safety. If you do not like, I'm not a big fan of ambidextrous safeties just because I'm so used to working one selector switch, whether I be weak or strong side. But if you do like an ambidextrous safety, it comes from the factory with an ambi safety from Trigger Tech, but we also send the locking button if you want to replace that and just go to a standard one side selector. Now, the other cool thing about this selector is that it's either 90 or 45. Right now, we're sending the Gen 2 Champions out with the 45 setting, but you can flip this around and take it to a 90 if that is what you choose to. And honestly, it gives you, the end user, some more variations to kind of set the rifle to where you want it. It's those little things that kind of bring you in to like being a little more settled on your rifle. All right, continuing on, we're gonna take a look at the cam lock system. So we have a cam lock block, the cam, our cam lever, and the cam button. And also to note, for all of the Generation 2 Champion rifles, they're gonna come with an additional lever. So again, Just like the ambidextrous safety, if you choose to run a lever on both sides instead of one, we send it with one lever on the rifle, but if you want to run dual levers, you can place that on there as well. So again, just more options for you, the consumer. Again, here we take a look at the mil-spec lower parts kit. So we have trigger detent spring. We have detent springs and detents for your pivot and takedown pins. Your pivot and takedown pin, trigger spring, trigger pin, hammer pin, buffer detent, buffer detent spring, our bolt stop or bolt latch, its spring and plunger, grip screw and grip star screw that goes on there, and that little star washer right here actually helps lock the grip screw. So when we set it here at the factory, it helps kind of keep it locked in place so that the grip doesn't come loose from your lower receiver. It stays pretty much there until you're ready to take it off one day and change it out for something else. The grip that we're currently running on the Gen 2 Champion is the Ergo Tactical Grip. A lot of us with bigger hands, we really like the Ergo Tactical Grip. It's kind of like, it has a palm swell in the grip. So it's, for a lot of guys with bigger hands, it's really comfortable. It has a lot of tactile spots all over it to where it kind of grips the hand a little bit better. Those of you who use an A2 grip, it's just that soft plastic. It has a little bit of roughness to it, but this right here, being that it's a rubber grip, provides a lot of holding power so that when you grab a hold of your Gen 2 Champion and whatever position you have, bringing that rifle back in your shoulder is pretty comfortable. So again, the Ergo Tactical Grip. The trigger that we drop in the Gen 2 Champion is going to be the TriggerTech Diamond trigger, and this trigger is really great as far as like creep and over travel. They're minimal. I mean, within a few thousandths, you're going to break the trigger. One of the cool things about it is that this trigger is adjustable. It is adjustable from 1.5 to 4 pounds, and you can manipulate the trigger pull just by adjusting the set screw here at the 6 o'clock position. Now, it's tactile in nature, so every time you click it, I think we did a little test in here, it's like a quarter of a pound per click, but again, it's somewhere in that wheelhouse, but you can adjust it just by manipulating that with an Allen wrench and setting that all the way up to 4 pounds or as low as 1.5 pounds for this trigger. The people who have shot it love it. It's crisp, it's clean, not a lot of creep or over travel, and it's done us. It's one of those things that we shot the trigger and we're like, man, that has to go in the Champion because it's the best one we can find. So TriggerTech Diamond trigger goes into the Gen 2 Champion. We have also the USAC trigger guard. That trigger guard fits in here and it is screwed into the lower receiver with 4 separate screws. And we went with this design because if you're shooting with gloves on in a cold environment, this trigger guard doesn't cut off a large portion of this area. You could still do it either way, but this just provides a little more room for you if you have gloves on or something like that, and it just makes it a little more comfortable to shoot in cold weather. We run a standard H1 buffer with a Springco spring in the buffer tube and buffer assembly. The barrel nut and handguard have several pieces that go to it. 2 are the helicoil that go in the handguard itself, because when we put steel screws into aluminum, the aluminum will fail if we don't put something in there that keeps it tight. So there's 2 helicoils that we set in here at the factory, 2 tensioning screws, the barrel nut and the locking key. When we take a look at how they meet up, this locking key fits in there so that the handguard can't slip off the barrel nut and that we have good tension. We set the screws here at the factory to 40 inch-pounds, and it is a 15-inch handguard. A lot of lightning cuts and thought went into making this handguard, so it's super light, even though it's a 15-inch handguard. Super light, but super rigid and strong. All right, the heart of the system, outside of the receivers, is our barrel. The approach to the match grade barrel that we put in every Gen 2 Champion. You have this one here is a 20 inch, so we do a 16 and a 20 inch. All right, so if we're talking about, you know, what gives us our accuracy, a lot of it is the chamber, the crown of the barrel, and then the barrel itself. So here we have a 416R stainless steel match grade barrel, and every barrel that we put in a Gen 2 Champion is the headspace is set to that specific bolt, so that you get the tightest headspace on that rifle for the caliber that you want. This one here is in 223 Wild. It is a 1-in-7, and with a rifle length gas system, being that it is a 20-inch barrel. So when we take a look at this barrel and this setup, a lot of people on the market will give you a window or so many thousandths. Semi-spec is 7 thousandths of an inch. So as long as they're in that window, they're gonna hit a go gauge, it drops, no go, it doesn't drop, and they're good. They're not gonna do anything else outside of that. But on our Gen 2 Champions, we cut the headspace to a minimum of 3 thousandths of an inch with that specific bolt, so that you have a custom chamber for that rifle on a production level. So a lot of people say never go full retard.
Never go full retard.
We try to go full retard on this one and make it the most accurate barrel that you can buy on the market here at US Arms Co. From the 416R match grade barrel, we have an additional part of the gas system. Here we have a titanium 750 thousandths gas block from SLR with a melanite gas tube, which is going to go on every Gen 2 Champion rifle. The melanite helps with gas flow. It doesn't bind up as much like a standard steel gas tube. And then of course titanium, it's lightweight, and man, it just looks good underneath that handguard. That is, you know, you have your standard phosphate coated gas block like your Sadlacs, nothing wrong with them. But when we talk about appearance, you know, portability, accuracy, lightweight, durable, all the things that we shoot for in this company. The other thing to note, we have 2 set screws on this gas block, and then it has a small detent here for those of you who run a cross slot pin in the barrel. If you chose to run a cross slot pin, you could get a gunsmith that's already detented right there, or divoted out, excuse me. Just have them drill it with it on the barrel, and then you could run a cross slot pin in it later, but there's really no need for it, but some people like options, right? As we continue forward, we're going to start with the upper receiver. All right, so our upper receiver and lower receiver are cut out of 70-75 billet. Now, when we look at the scale, there's only one grade of aluminum that is stronger than 70-75, and that's 70-68. But as far as aircraft grade aluminum goes, this one, 70-75, is the strongest on the market that is still easy to cut. And 70-75 is super strong, and that's one of the reasons why we use 70-75. The Handguard is 60-61. I meant to mention that earlier, but it's 60-61. But super strong aircraft grade aluminum. The face of the upper receivers are cut to square so that when the barrel is locked in, all right, if we got any gunsmiths watching that we have the barrel extension true to a good 90-degree cut on the face, so when it's locked down, it has no place to go but to stay center. Those of you who know, if we have a high shoulder and a low shoulder on any locking surface, as the gun heats up, you get stringing shots. So we always make sure that our upper receiver face is dead up zero and square. Also on the upper receiver, we run a Strike Force polymer dust cover, and there's a couple of reasons why we run it. One, it's lightweight. Two, it's easy to install. So you at the end user level, if you say, hey, I don't want this dust cover, you at the end user level, you can just push this detent out, remove it, and then put the dust cover you choose to run in there. But we've had nothing but great success with this dust cover. Super light, super durable, and it continues to work for us year after year. We're going to continue on to the bolt carrier group. So a couple of things on our bolt carrier group. It's nickel boron coated along with the barrel extension. So the wearing surfaces on your barrel and your bolt carrier group are the same, so they wear evenly. We don't have one overtaking the other. Our bolts are magnetic particle inspected, but the bolts are made of Carpenter 158 steel, and the bolt carrier group is made of 8620 steel. And we continue on to our gas key. We do not use the YFS screws or the Chinese screws. There's a lot of talk that has gone around in the AR forum about screws breaking, the gas carry keys coming loose, not being staked properly. All of our bolts are staked properly and with the correct screws so that they have a long service and shelf and service life, excuse me, that you can put this up, come back to it a couple of years later, shoot it till it's cooking, clean it, put it back up, and you can hand this rifle off to one of your kids. So, nothing but the best components put into the bolt carrier group. A lot of thought has gone into even wear and good chambers here for the Gen 2 Champion. Continuing on, we have the Radian ambidextrous charging handle. A lot of folks out there, when we first started with the Generation 1, we only had the one side, the standard mil-spec selector and the standard charging handle. Everybody was talking about ambidextrous, ambidextrous, ambidextrous. So we went with the Radian charging handle for the Gen 2 Champion also. And lastly, guys, we have two different muzzle devices that you can go to. One, the M905 Talon muzzle brake, or the Strikeforce 4-prong flash hider. All of these components are what go into making a Gen 2 Champion, along with other techniques of what we look at assembly as far as barrel nut torque specs, anti-seize, lining up the gas tubes, things like that, that we have our techs, when they build the rifles, that they're mindful of so that you get the best accuracy possible from your Gen 2 Champion. All right, guys, so we have all the components here. We're gonna build it real quick. I would love to show you how to build it, but we can't because we'll get shadow banned, because that's where we're at. But we're gonna build it real quick, and then we're gonna take it to the range and shoot it.
Nice.
And surprise, it is built. So we have here the Gen 2 Champion chambered in 223 Wild with the 1-10 EOTech Voodoo. We're gonna take this out to the range and shoot the bejesus out of it and see how it goes. All right, the setup we have here today that we're testing is the Generation 2 20-inch Champion. It's sporting the M905 Talon muzzle brake, and the 20-inch barrel is a 416R match stainless steel barrel, and it's a 1-in-7 rifling. We like to kind of use the 1-in-7 for the 223 Wild chamber or 5.56 NATO chamber. Because it stabilizes a large variety of bullets. You can go all the way up to an 80.5 grain, no problems. And it isn't until you start reaching like the 90 grain bullets that you're running a little slow as far as the rate of twist on a 1-in-7. So 1-in-7 covers a large gap for you as the customer if you want to shoot 77s, 55s, whatever. For the scope here today, we're running an EOTech Voodoo, which is a 1-10 variable low-powered optic, LPVO. So I kind of said that backwards, a little bit of dyslexia, but a EOTech Voodoo with the Scalar Works mount. Okay, I'm going to shoot for the top right and put a group on there with this 77 grain. See how we do. Main thing is to hold still and not get excited. And one more. There's 3 rounds for the record book. Thank you, Lapua. Ooh, that looks good. And the ammunition we shot today was 77 grain Sierra Match King from Berger Ammunition, which is a factory match grade ammunition. So we have first 3 round group right here on target at 100 yards. We had an initial outside to outside group of 637 thousandths. We minus the caliber, so the exiting caliber of this barrel is 221 thousandths. So we have a center to center group of 416 thousandths, and we divide that by a true minute of angle, which is 1.047 inches. And we have a minute of angle capability. Now this is me shooting. This is not off of a rest being shot mechanically. So this is actual human being shooting the rifle of 0.397 minutes of angle. So this is just shooting off of a sandbag with a 16-inch Gen 2 Champion, what you should expect from US Arms Co. when you purchase a Gen 2 Champion. Every rifle that I have shot so far as the Champion series has shot exactly like this, and I am super impressed. Back from the range, what a pleasure to shoot this Gen 2 Champion. The accuracy is what you would expect, half minute or less, and we haven't even broken this rifle in yet. As you shoot this Gen 2 Champion and you break it in and you go through the break-in procedure, this is just going to continue to shoot better and better as you season the barrel. As you're firing this rifle with match grade ammunition, you're fire lapping the rifle. It's just going to turn out and start shooting smaller and smaller groups as you continue on shooting this rifle, right? So this thing comes in two different lengths. We got 16-inch and we have a 20-inch here that we shot out at the range that we have here right in front of us. And there are a multitude of different colors and camouflage patterns that are offered by the company that you can pick, that, you know, you say, hey, oh, I like this and I like this one better. So a multitude of different colors that all of them just look awesome. And as always, guys, if you're looking for more US Arms Company content, check out Classic Firearms. They currently have the bolt action line series of videos out on their website. The link is below. And lastly, the gunman build for the moth build for the gunman website. The link for that will be below. And for all of you who are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. And for any further content or questions, hit us up below and we will get back with you as soon as we can. And as always, thank you for your time.